Welcome to another edition of the Royal Alliance UK podcast, episode 287. It's time for liftoff. My name's Matthew Turner alongside Anthony Fitzpatrick. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, thank you. Yeah.
I saw you grimace through that.
Yeah, it's just a regular thing now, I don't know why I've not adapted to it after all these years, but hey ho, it is what it is.
Um, but it's apt, no? We're here. Week one. We're about to get
We are.
started.
We've got NFL football today, and for the next 5 months, our sleep schedules are doomed. Greatest show ever. Love it. It's a good game on Thursday night football as well, at least to kick off and stay up for. So looking forward to it. Looking forward to watching everyone else first, and then us with the encore. So
Yeah, it's really exciting. We are, of course, here to preview Week 1 versus the LA Rams in a repeat of last year's wildcard matchup that the Lions won pretty nicely in a spectacular game. But we're just going to get into some intro and some news to begin with. And as always, don't forget to join us on our Discord channel. It's the best place to come and chat with us all week long. Great community of Lions fans. Link is in the live chat right now. We'd love to see you there. College Football Podcast, Sam. What did he talk about this week?
we did a review of week one, so it was the sort of the opening weekend of the season where everybody was playing. So we do reviews of that and then previews of the next week. Pretty simple formulaic stuff at the minute. Reviews, previews. A lot of good stuff went on week one though, so go check it out.
It is really good stuff if you want to see where the next crop of Lions players is coming from. The guys have expert knowledge, so do go and listen to them. And while you're there, please don't forget to like this episode and sub to the podcast. Anything you guys can do to support the show, much appreciated. Thank you in advance. And don't forget to help our friends as well at Lions Nation Unite, Herman Ross project to bring the best in Lions content creators together. We're Twitch affiliated, YouTube monetized, and there's a tip jar down below in the YouTube description if you want to show some love that way. If you're enjoying listening to this, then that's a great way to do it. There's also a merch store if you want to get something back for your donation, and a feedback form as well. If you're just listening to this, that is more than enough, though, you guys. All right, a little bit of news to start with, and I think we're just talking about this in the pre-show, so I'm not sure you've seen it, Ant, but Dan Campbell has decided to venture into the world of acting, and Applebee's have dropped 2 adverts with him in it. I think he's a bit sheepish about the fact that he's in them, but he's putting on a damn good performance. Are you surprised that he can act?
No. I mean, everybody, he did it when he was back at the Cowboys. I think this has maybe been secretly in him all along, and he seems very well suited to it. He's just unapologetically himself, and sometimes that makes the best actor when people are just themselves and they're almost playing a caricature of themselves. Like that is Dan in Applebee's. That's how he'd be anyhow. So sometimes, as I say, makes the best actors.
Absolutely. There's something genuine there, and it really seeps through into his coaching as well. Dan Campbell was talking to the media, and he has revealed that there is a chance that DJ Reader plays in week 1. Apparently, he's been training well, which is great news. And the last bit of news that we have is, and I'm sorry to even mention the name, but former Lions head coach Matt Patricia has revealed he is joining the 33rd team alongside a mentor, Bill Belichick. And Patricia had a frosty relationship with the media. Suddenly he's being paid by an outfit that I believe is partially owned by Jared Goff. I'm sure I read that in a Lions beat writer column somewhere, that Goff effectively is his boss.
Yeah, he's done. I hate him. I will forever hate him. Screw him. Hope it goes terribly. And he's fired very quickly. So yeah, I have absolutely no love for that cretin. He nearly ruined us, and I don't give a damn what he does. I don't know what the hell's he gonna do there? Yell at players, yell at other people. Teach people how to punt on an opposition 40-yard line. I don't know. What's he gonna do? Greatest Super Bowl player of all time. Is he just gonna whinge about that every day? Not even him doing it.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was going to say. You have a look at all of the Kansas City Chiefs offensive coordinators who failed around the league, and you have a look at all of the defensive coordinators from that Patriots tree that have also failed across the league. And I don't understand why any credence was given to him now when you look back. It seems silly.
Yeah, it was odd. We thought he was the young upcoming star who, you know, felt like it had gone stale under Caldwell, and he just couldn't get us over the line. So we took a young mind to get us over the line. But sometimes the trouble with taking young minds, especially when they come from a very successful system, is you don't actually know how much of it is down to them. And as it's transpired, absolutely none of it is down to him. Because that's just Patriots head coaches do not do well, or Patriots coaches who go elsewhere to coach do not do well. So. But yeah, he will screw him forever and a day.
Yeah, there we go. All right, we're getting into our Rams preview now, and of course, it's the first game of the season. This is going to be a merging of styles. So we're going to be looking back to see who the Rams were, how they've changed, and then who they might be. And we've got a few fancy little graphics which we're going to show off as well for this one. So if you're on the audio show, I will be referencing that as we go through. You won't need to see it, but if you do want to go and look at it, and you'll see our lovely faces as well, then, getting something more for your money. All right, so the Rams, of course, finished the season 10-8 after losing the wildcard round in Ford Field for the Lions' first playoff win in over 30 years. For this particular game, the betting by Bet365 was 6-4 for the Rams. That's plus 155 on the money line. Lions 9-5 on. That's minus 185 by American money. Translates to a 3.5 point spread in favour of the Lions, with an over/under of 52, which seems a tad high to me. And week one, just generally speaking, features generally for me offenses that are not quite on the same page, and defenses that are a little bit ahead. It tends to be a low-scoring week.
Yeah, but I don't know. Maybe they're looking at there's two offenses that can score a lot of points, and I don't know. It's just they said like the playoff game was tight, right? So I'm assuming they're going to think it's going to be a tight affair. Maybe you don't know. It's just like you say, week one's such an anomaly. You don't know what you're going to get. Like I don't know. I don't know how they do it, but all I know is the line on us isn't nearly anywhere near as big enough as it should be. It's disrespectful being so low. So, we should be favorites we should be favored by a lot more for this, and we're not. But, keep disrespecting us, keep sleeping on us, we'll just keep proving you wrong.
In terms of the people who are affected by injury, we haven't had the injury reports out yet for today being Thursday. Wednesday was an estimated report, although we know that Lauren Strickland, who did not practice in the estimated report yesterday, has not practiced yet today either. We also have Ifeatu Melifonwu, and DJ Reader was estimated as limited in practice. I believe that continues to be the case today. For the Rams, they've got a few people in full practice, including Jonah Jackson. That's not expected to be an issue. In terms of limited in practice, there is the offensive tackle Rob Haverstein, and the cornerbacks Kobe Durant and Darius Williams. They were both limited on Wednesday. No update yet for them. In terms of the Rams, on injury reserve, there are a few players, but no one of particular note. On the PUP is the tight end Tyler Higbee, high-priced tight end Tyler Higbee, which means he's out until week 5 because of when he was put on there. Suspended as well is the tackle Alaric Jackson, as well as backup quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo. And then, of course, the other thing to mention about this team, we'll talk about Aaron Donald later, but he is contributing $23.8 million and in dead cap money. We're no strangers to dead cap on this show. We've been through the perils of having big dead cap, but $23.8 million for a player that isn't playing for you is a bitter pill to swallow when it's 10% of your total money.
Yeah, but he kind of single-handedly won you a Super Bowl as well, so I'd take that trade-off. Like that's nothing compared to what he gave you.
It's absolutely true. Okay, so let's have a look at the players that the Rams have lost this season, and it's not exactly much, I have to say. The players that the Rams let go in free agency, Carson Wentz was not a starter particularly. That's a pretty good backup quarterback, you have to say, but he's of course gone to the Chiefs and we've faced him already, so he has gone. And then, sorry, the web page is deciding to load at the wrong possible moment. The other players that have left them, Jordan Fuller, the safety, he's gone to Carolina. Coleman Shelton, the interior offensive lineman, has gone to Chicago. Jonah Williams, the edge, went to Minnesota. Tremaine Ankrum to the Seahawks. Brian Allen to the Cleveland Browns. And Austin Tramwell to the Jacksonville Jaguars. And then, if I have a look at the players that are still on the market that they let go, which is a totally different tab and takes ages to bloody go through my web pages, apologies, then they still have available out there Boston Scott, Akello Witherspoon, Duke Shelley, and Bryson Hopkins. And fair to say that the Rams haven't lost a great deal here.
No, it's not going to be. We're going to see a lot of the team that we saw last year. Maybe a good thing. Maybe we know you're not facing too much of a change team here, but they're playoff team last year. They're there, they're thereabouts. You want to try and keep that spine together. You want to try and go for it again. So you don't need to make wholesale changes. And they seem to have done well. You know, they've been drafting well in recent years. Another good draft class here. So yeah, it's steady. You're expecting, you know what you're going to get from them. Like you know, they're dangerous.
And then let's talk about their draftees and free agency inwards. So here is your offensive additions for the Rams. In round 3, pick 83, they took the running back Blake Corum from Michigan. In round 6, they took a wide receiver and an offensive lineman in Jordan Whittington and Bo Limmer. And then in the 7th round, they took Casey Leviston. He is one of the players on injured reserve. He is done for the season. In terms of the free agency inwards on the offensive side of the ball, they took the Lions guard / center Jonah Jackson, 3 years, $51 million. Titan Colby Parkinson, 3 years, 22.5. And for the same money, they also got Darius Williams, the corner. Safety Cameron Curl comes over for 2 years, 9. And the ever-crocked but former All-Pro corner Tre'Davious White from the Bills, 1 year, $4.25 million. And just to stop there on the offense, Blake Corum was a very highly regarded running back coming into this process. There were a few people vying for that top spot of who could be the highest drafted running back. He didn't quite make it, but super productive for Michigan, obviously, in their title-winning run. And then they got Jonah and Colby Parkinson and Tre'Davious White, Darius Williams and Cam Curl. Why are they on there as defenders? Sorry, they're also in the defender section. Apologies for that. But Colby Parkinson, a lot of money. Jonah Jackson, a lot of money. And Blake, that is restocking.
Yeah, I mean, draft picks wise, you didn't need anything major right away. So obviously, a lot of day 3 picks in there. Blake Corum, wrong team in LA. I was convinced he was going to the Chargers, but that's an odd pick in itself because they've got Kyron Williams, who's young and was a lead back for them last year. They're relegating to punt returner now, which is odd. And then they triple dipped and went with Cody Schrader as well, who was also a really good running back. So it just seems weird that they went that way and didn't go elsewhere. But I guess, you're going to stop your running back. You know what they want to do? They do want to run the ball down you a bit more, take the load off staff. So I get that. You get guys on your offensive line that you're getting for the future as well. Wide receiver, you're picking for the future because you've got two stud receivers already. Your offensive line's in pretty decent nick, so you're getting guys for the future. It seemed wise predominantly what they did there, and obviously Jonah is a great guard. I think it's a really good pickup by them. It's just a shame we couldn't pay him, but with all the mouths that needed feeding, somebody was always going to suffer. But they've got a very dangerous interior, maybe one of the best interiors in the NFL. Period. With him in there, so it's very clear the identity they want. They want to be able to run the ball better, run the ball more, become more of a dynamic offense, and yeah, they've made some really good pickups here.
And moving over to the defensive side of the ball, I've given you the defensive free agents already. Apologies. But on the draftees, they took Jared Verse in their first round pick, 19th overall. Braden Fisk, defensive tackle at 39. In the 3rd round, they took safety Cam Kinchins, the maligned draft pick, shall I say, in terms of where he was regarded and how far he fell, potentially, because he was potentially going to be a first-round pick there for a while. They then took Brennan Jackson in the 5th round, 154 overall, and I don't recall the first name of the defensive tackle.
Tyler.
Tyler Davis, thank you, 196 in the 6th round. They also drafted in the 6th round, 209th overall. I think your favourite special teamer, Josh Carty? No? Not your favourite. No, you liked the thicker kicker, didn't you?
Yeah.
But he's still a good kicker.
I'm sure he will be.
What do you think about the other additions? So double dipping at Florida State.
Well, it's double dipping on the defensive line, and there's a reason why, because Aaron Donald's gone now, and they've, their dominant defensive line they had. You had Floyd on the outside, gone, Donald gone, and they've almost worked around a couple of guys for too long, and you just had sort of a load of parts around him. But now he's gone. You've got to redo that whole line. Like all 4 starters potentially on that line on Sunday are first or second year guys. You had 2 picks last year, fairly high up with the defensive line. You've gone 2 again this year. Like this is a complete renovation of their defensive line. And in 2 or 3 years' time, when they're all coming into their own together, their 3rd, 4th, 5th year rookies. I mean, God help them if they all work out, because they ain't going to be able to pay them all. But that's quite clearly a rebuild there. Like the veterans are gone, the talisman is gone. You've got to rebuild the whole thing. So it's not surprising they've gone in that direction 2 years in a row. You've got to keep making swings at that. And hell, they even made another 2 later on. They got 4 picks on that D line altogether. So you've put 6 guys on that line in the last 2 drafts. Like that should tell you what their idea has been, what they've got to do. You've got to rebuild your trenches up. So they did it with Jonah, bringing him in. They drafted 2 tackles as well. So it's not hard to see what they've done. They're trying to beef up their trench because I think they realised that's where they lost to us last year. They couldn't handle our intensity, and we just had a bit too much for them and broke their lines. And they know that if they want to beat us and they want to get back to the Super Bowl, they've got to get better than us. So that's why you're seeing this big vested interest in their trenches, both sides of the ball. But I mean, these guys could be great. Jared Verse is a monster. Braden Fisk has been really good there. I like it. And the 2 development guys they've got, they'll take a couple of years, but there's a lot of potential in them. Cam Kinchins is a great safety. He'll be really good for them, but he's coming into a room with a lot of depth in it. He'll not have to be exposed right away. So, yeah, I do really like what they've done, and so they've bought in vets to keep them going while these young guys develop. It just seems to have been very sensibly done. Like, just they've filled some holes for now instantly to try and keep them in the playoffs, but they've really set the foundation going forward to try and keep this window open as long as possible, because they are coming out of the Super Bowl team now. They're going to be incurring some dead money losses on some of these vets and that, and you've got to keep the balance and still try and be competitive.
Yeah, it's a difficult line to tread. Obviously, losing Aaron Donald is irreplaceable, but I think they've done a good job trying to replace him in the aggregate. If I try and stream a Moneyball quote, they really have by investing heavily in those positions. And he doesn't have the impact, but now instead of taking up 2 guys, maybe you've got to worry about the entire line a little bit more, because we've seen from other players that have come off that line that they've not done as well when they've left Aaron Donald. So, what a surprise. You're right, though. It's going to be tough. The other thing to mention that they've done in this off-season happened about a week ago, 10 days ago, with the trading of their best linebacker, Mike linebacker, Ernest Jones, who was traded to the Tennessee Titans for a late round pick swap. I think it was Jones and a 6 for a 5th round pick, which I know he was going into the last year of his deal, but this is a guy that got 4.5 sacks, 145 tackles last year, and had a PFF grade nearing 80 for a linebacking group that wasn't exactly setting the world alight. He was the lone player who really looks good. An odd decision for me.
I mean, maybe, but at the same point, you sort of have to look who they have in their team who is, potentially going to take over. And they drafted Nick Hampton the year before this. and like he's specifically going to be one of the guys who comes in. He's a hybrid, good outside linebacker, able to get to the quarterback, able to make plays. If you feel that your young guys are ready to make an impression, then you go and get them. You give them their opportunity to shine. Obviously, they feel comfortable enough that they're going to let the young guy, because again, they're going to have money issues. They have with the amount they've invested in this team. If you can let him go, get one of your rookies in this team, get them up and going, that's better for you in the long term. It's one less, again, mouth to feed and one less problem to sort going on. So it may appear weird in there, but I think they've certainly drafted to fix this problem, and they're probably just ready to give the guys, their opportunity. They're probably confident in the guys they've brought in. So, yeah, because he wouldn't have been dead expensive. Like, I don't think so. So, yeah, they've got some good young guys in there from these last few. I've liked the last few drafts they've done. So we're probably going to see more of these guys now. You'll see a youth movement in LA now.
You absolutely will. They've drafted well. The future is coming, but the competition is now in a rebuilding year last year. They made the playoffs and they were competitive the year before, even when, Stafford went down, and that kept us out of the playoffs the year before that. So this is a team which, despite going through transition, has flirted with success. And with Stafford and Cup nearing the end of their tenures in the National Football League, I think that they should rightly regard themselves as having the door somewhat open as a sort of flirty competitor / dark horse for the title. I don't think they should be going in thinking that they can make the Super Bowl, but we've seen teams at this level make it before, so I don't think it would be mad to think that they can go all the way. Let's go through what this team did last year in terms of rankings, and then obviously you can feed in what we've just told you about their comings and goings. So this team was 85 overall on the PFF grade. That's 11th. In offense, they were 6th. In defense, they were 25th. By DVOA, overall, they were a bit lower, 17th, so about middle of the pack. Offense was about the same, 7th, but defense are slightly higher than the PFF grade. It was 22nd, but a big disparity between offensive grades in both metrics being top 7 and defensive grades both being bottom 10. So that is where they were. And yet they've lost Donald, Jones, and Okello Witherspoon, who was their best cornerback last year. So it's interesting, they've gone big on Verse and Fisk, and they've brought in Cam Curl and Tre'Davious White. But it's a defense that already wasn't doing particularly well. Looking at their conversion rates on offense, on third down they were 8th, fourth down they were 4th, and then in the red zone they were 4th as well, despite going 0-3 in the red zone against the Lions, which is what really killed them in the end. On defense, on third down they were 18th, fourth down they were 22nd, and in the red zone they were 15th. So they were slightly better in the money downs than they were as a kind of average across total defense, which kind of means they were losing it a bit more on first and second down, which is not exactly an ideal situation for them, I don't think. Let's have a look and see what that all means with their defenses. Let's bring up, with the formations. Let's bring up their starting offense for the first time here. You can see on the screen the list of names on the right-hand side and then their positions here. It's a bit congested, so you can see wide receiver 1 on the left-hand side at the end of the line, and then tight end 1 on the right-hand side with the other wide receivers alongside Stafford and the running back in the backfield. I know it's not perfect, but go with me on this. So you have got, obviously, Matthew Stafford as the starting quarterback. The backup for this game is going to be Stetson Bennett, the undrafted rookie last year from Georgia. Running back is going to be Kyron Williams, with Blake Corum backing him up. Wide receivers, they've got Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, and DeMarcus Robinson, but they've also got Tutu Atwell and Jordan Whittington back there too. Starting tight end is Colby Parkinson in relief of Tyler Higbee. They've got Davis Allen behind him. And then the starting offensive line is somewhat in flux. We believe that Joe Noteboom is going to take the start at left tackle. He's on the cap for almost $12 million a year, and he has not wanted to be a starting player in this offensive line. A big opportunity for him to take advantage of Alaric Jackson's suspension to see whether he can get a starting spot, and they would love for him to do that given how much they're paying him and what a mistake that was. Then moving across from left to right, Steve Avila was the starting left guard last year. They have been trying to cross-train him at centre, and it appears to have not worked, so they've moved him back to left guard. This has meant that the player that they paid in free agency to play at left guard from the Lions, Jonah Jackson, has had to flip over to centre because they believe that that is the better way round, at least in this game. I think long term they are going to want to switch it back round to what they were planning for this off-season, but it hasn't quite worked. Worth mentioning that Jonah Jackson has not played at centre in his professional career. I think he did take some snaps at the Lions in practice under centre, but has never actually taken an NFL snap under centre. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. Then have Kevin Dotson, high-prized right guard, high-paid right guard. And then the right tackle, Rob Haverstein, who, of course, is limited in practice, but he was one of their better offensive linemen last year. Unheralded somewhat, but he's pretty good. And then back there, of course, they've got the draftee Bo Limmer, who's got a lot of praise from this Rams coaching staff in this offseason for being very strong and very versatile, a bit further ahead than they thought he would be. Their other offensive line backups are Logan Bruss and Warren McClendon. And what do you think of this offense? I mean, it was a top 7-8 unit last year. It really carried them to the playoffs. And I mean, Puka Nacua, you were calling it all through the draft process, and he really it is maybe one of your biggest draft wins, I think.
Yeah, he's a wonderful player. Really would have loved him here, but this team is built on its playmakers. So when you've got two star wide receiver ones, you've got a really good tight end, and you've got a really good running back, and you've got really good quarterback. You've got really good playmakers. The offensive line was all right. It was not the best in the world, but they've got good parts on there. And again, a lot of it was fairly young, so you can clearly see it was overall the better part of it. You look at it this year. Obviously, staff's still going to be staff. That's great. The running back room is really dangerous now. It's three deep. You add Schrader into that as well because he's a damn good running back. But with Corum and Kyron there, it's great. Obviously, your wide receiver room's going to be dangerous as ever. They've been a bit dinged, but they're going to be healthy. Higbee missing is massive. Like we've had problems with tight ends for years and years and years, and to not have him in there. I mean, I know they've still got some, but I know they've brought in Colby Parkinson, and I know they've got a couple of young draft picks behind him as well. They've got, what's his face? Davis Allen, the blocking tight end from Clemson, in there as well. But it'll still be a solid room, but without him, that'll be huge. The offensive line is the one, right? So that interior, as we've mentioned, is damn good. It's damn good. Those front three are, I reckon, one of the best interiors in the entire NFL, period. But the tackles, this is where it could all, this could be a really big problem for them. Joe Noteboom is basically our version of Dan Skipper or Matt Nelson. That's what he's been.
So mean.
That's what's wrong with Dan Skipper? Are you saying Dan Skipper's a bad player?
I'm saying Joe.
That's a compliment to me.
I'm saying Joe Noteboom is a touch better than that.
He is there. He's not good enough to be a starter, but he's good enough to be a relief guy. But he's in, and the problem is both his guys behind that are out. KT Leviston's on IR. The fourth back is on IR.
Mm-hmm.
You've got, and then on right tackle, you've got Havenstein, who's injured. If he's not able to play, then you're going to have a real situation where this offensive line is very vulnerable. It's got no tackle depth whatsoever. And if Havenstein doesn't play, you're going to be essentially playing against maybe not even backup level guys on here. So despite the fact they have a tough interior, your edge rushers then are going to have a lot of success. We've got a good enough interior to have to take their guys on the interior up there. It's a big bullseye which could bring this whole thing down. Like, it's a very good offense they've got, but they have a vulnerability this week which we can fully take advantage of. And and bring it all crashing down. So you've got to be careful about it, but we have the tools to nullify. If we can stop them running the ball, and you take Coram and Kyron out the game, and then they've got to resort to passing it, and they're going to put these tackles in pressure situations where they're going to get overloaded. You're going to get to Stafford, and you're going to get to hit Stafford a lot. You're going to get to hurt, ding him up and cause problems.
We have some breaking news. And we were about to move over to the Rams defense. I'll just talk about this now before I go back to the Rams offense. We said in the injury report that cornerback Darius Williams was limited. He has been placed on IR in the last 3 minutes. That means he is going to miss the next 4 games, which means the Lions will be playing even more backups, which is very, very interesting indeed. It also means that my lovely graphics which I've made for the Rams starters is slightly inaccurate, which is a little annoying, but never mind. I will... oh, hello, little spoiler on there on the screen. I'm trying to find where he is. Okay. So, that should be fixed now. Fantastic. So, on to the Rams offense, and then we'll flip over to the defense. So, for me, this is one of the most electric offenses generally in the NFL. And already mentioned about that interior of the offensive line being strong. And no matter which way you want to play Avila and Jackson, they're going to play well. Dotson's fantastic. But that offensive tackle group, you've got to take advantage. I said Haverstein was one of their better players last year, and he was. But he's slightly injured coming into this game, and he's not going to be at 100%. And then you've got Joe Oatbeam on the other side. You've got to go hammer and tong trying to hit them there. Of course, they're going to try and run up the gut to try and protect against that. But it isn't the sort of game that they want to play. Think about, how this sort of Shanahan tree works. And I know that it's not quite exactly like how Shanahan runs things, but they like to run outside zone. They like to spread things out. And having tackles that aren't in that upper echelon of things really limits what they can do. And yet, Colby Parkinson's an excellent blocking tight end with some receiving upside. I think he's going to be an asset in this game. And then between Kupp and Nakua, you've got 2 wide receivers who can go toe-to-toe with anyone in the league. Cooper Kupp came into the wildcard game last year, banged up to all hell throughout the entire season, couldn't really get going. He had the old game where he looked like he was back to his former self, only to go back down again. He's had a full off season. I don't think he's had any relapses. We should expect Cooper Kupp to be back to his former self. And when you've got Nakua, who did his best Kupp impression last year, it's going to be really hard in coverage, and it's a great test for the revamped Lions defense to go up against. And then Williams and Coram got a great 1-2 punch alongside, a quarterback who can run things excellently, can see things before they happen, knows how to take a hit. This is an offense which is going to move the ball and it's going to score points despite our best efforts. So the key is going to be making key stops on key downs and trying to survive with this offense, I think.
Maybe. I don't know. I think again, if you can stop their run. The thing is, we've got really good run defense. It comes through the linebackers, it comes through the D tackles. I think even as good as their interior is, it's still going to struggle. And the trouble is, we usually get hit better on the run on the edge. That's usually where teams, when they run outside the tackles, have a bit of better luck against us. And unfortunately, we're going to be able to cover that up because they're not fielding very good tackles. So, I think we match up very well against what they do. And of course, now you've got the deep field threats. We've invested in guys to come in and deal with the likes of Kupp and Nakua, etc., etc. And if you can't run the ball and you're putting them in 3rd and long, you're going to struggle again. They've not got tackles. So there are a good offense. And if this was a full strength offense that we were playing against, then I would be really worried. But I feel like this aligns to us. And I say missing Higbee's because he's been a pain in our ass for years when we play against them. Tight ends have been a pain in our ass for years when we've played against them. So, we're better now with a secondary that's good. They weren't able to score freely on us last time. So, yeah, I think we can deal with them a lot easier than we did before.
Flipping over to the defensive side of the ball, Here is your projected starters for defense for the LA Rams. They are in a base 3-4. Of course, they play a lot of nickel like everyone does, but looking at their base formation, you've got the three down linemen of Braden Fisk, Bobby Brown III, and Kobe Turner. Four linebackers. The two outside linebackers are Byron Young and Jared Verse. And then the inside linebackers are potentially going to be Troy Reader and Christian Roseboom. With the DBs being now Kobe Durant coming in for the injured reserve man Darius Williams, and then Tre'Davious White fit at least to start this game. Let's see what happens. And then the safeties Cameron Curl and John Johnson III. The backups are pretty good too. Tyler Davis drafted this year, as we said, and Neville Gallimore and Deshaun Johnson as the interior of the defensive line. The outside linebackers, Michael Hoyt and Brennan Jackson, as well as Nick Hampton. Hoyt obviously got burned for that big touchdown by Sam Laporta in the wildcard game, but he had a really good season last year, Hoyt. They also have Omar Spates and Jacob Hummel as the backup inside linebackers, and then the backup DBs, Cam Kinchens, we've already mentioned. The nickelback, when they go to nickel, will be Quentin Lake. They've also got back there Josh Wallace, Russ Yeast, Charles Woods, and Jalen McCulloch. Looking at special teams, kicker is Joshua Carty, drafted this year, punter Ethan Evans, and the long snapper is Alex Ward. And there's a piece of news that was revealed earlier this week, and no one knows whether it's true. Cooper Kupp revealed in a podcast on Monday that he's going to be doing the kickoffs. No one knows if this is true. But Cooper Kupp said, without sounding like he was joking, that he was going to be taking the kickoffs. Apparently in his college career, he used to punt. No, in high school, he punted. This is according to an article by Jason D'Alessandro of Turf Show Times, which is the SB Nation site for the LA Rams, and do go and check them out. They do some really good stuff. I've been swatting up on their website for that. That would be really interesting. But looking at their defensive starters, it's very young. Very young.
Yeah, literally all across the board. I mean, on that defensive line, Bobby Brown's one of the oldest they've got there, and he was drafted in 2021. Like, he's only 3 years out. You had Kobe Turner was last year, Byron Young was last year, Fisk and Verse were this year, Omar Spates this year. Like, young drafted free agent this year he is, and he's so high up on the depth chart. This is what I mean. This is a rebuild of the defense. I mean, what did you say? It finished 22nd in DVOA last year, so not exactly very good. So what do? You rebuild it from scratch. You start young. You start again. You've got an offense which is capable of winning you a lot of games of football. But you have to go like we did, like Lions did. We had to go young. We've struggled for years to get veterans in. We can't make a defense of veterans, so we've had to go a young defense, which has taken a very long time to adjust and adapt. But eventually it gets there, and as it comes into this year, it looks like it could be damn good. But it takes precedence there, and this is the thing. It is young. And that defensive front is coming up against the best offensive line in the league. These are prized veterans. I mean, even, Henne is 3 years, but he's basically the best tackle in the league already at this point. And that's why, when people go, yeah, they might have filled the sum of their parts out, but these are young guys. They're not going to like getting hit again and again and again and again and again. The way we batter away, especially in the run game, if you establish the run in this game, there's nothing more that a D end hates more than setting the edge against the run all the time. They want to go make big splash plays. They want to, be featured on ESPN for best sack of the week, something like that. They don't want to be doing all this hard stuff, just trying to block runs all the time, because it just breaks them mentally more than anything. So as you look at the linebacker group and that's backing them up, and again, young. Omar Spates, young this year. Byron Young last year. Nick Hampton last year. So many of these guys haven't seen a third year in this league at this point. So it's going to be very young. It's going to be very raw. It's going to be enthusiastic. It's going to be athletic. It's, if coached properly, has the potential to be better than the sum of its parts right now. But I just look at it as one big vulnerability right now because it's coming up against one of the most experienced offenses in the league, um, who are incredibly well coached and who do know how to pick on you. They will find one of these young guys to pick on who's not doing well, and they will just go after him again and again and again and again. And they, yeah, I think they're going to be able to struggle with it. Even going through to the back line, I know bringing in, you're experienced in the secondary, right? Cameron Curl, experienced. John Johnson, experienced. Tre'Davious White, experienced. And you've got a nice little group of youngsters behind them. So that's the better, that's the more balanced unit at this moment in time. But it doesn't have a ton of depth to it, especially now with Darius out. They're going to rely on their youngsters to step up here. So this very much feels like our defense of maybe even last year, where we've got a lot of young guys in, a lot of first, a lot of second year guys, and they're going to take time to adapt. And you don't look around and see the veteran names in there who are going to lead it. Really, outside of Tre'Davious White, you don't see and he's coming back off what? How many injuries now? Like, he's got to prove himself as much as anybody at this point because he was one of the best going before the injuries banjaxed him. So I look at this defense, and again, I like the way they're building it. I love the young players they've got there, but it's just not balanced in the slightest, and it's coming up against us. So that's why I've always been so confident now for a while that this is going to be a big margin of victory for the Lions, because it's just an imbalance that they're not going to be able to overcome.
Yeah, it's really notable that even the experience they have don't have experience playing the Rams way. The backbone has been ripped out of this defense, an underperforming defense, but the best players in it are gone. Donald Jones, Witherspoon, and Jordan Fuller were their top PFF grades in their respective positions: defensive tackle, Mike linebacker, outside corner, and safety. They've replaced them with draft picks or free agent signings who don't know the terminology, who don't have any chemistry with these guys. And yeah, for the vets, maybe that shouldn't be a problem, but just sometimes it is. So you're Cam Curl coming in and Tre'Davious White. What if it doesn't fit? And then, Cam Kinchins, how quickly can he turn it on? Because I think they're going to have to call on him quite a bit, because John Johnson's slated to start. Obviously, a draft pick of the Rams, left, was crap at the Browns, came back. Is he going to be what he was at the Rams again? I don't know, but they're going to be looking at him to be a leader. Quentin Lake was a good nickel last year, so I expect them to try and live in nickel quite a bit. But you do that, you're not going to hang against the Lions when they're running the ball in nickel. They're going to have to try and be in base and play 5-down linemen with those outside linebackers basically being extra defensive linemen in Jared Verse and Byron Young. But they're small. They're small guys. And across the entire Rams team, and for me, it's built in a very prototypical New Age way of speed over power. And I think you adequately said that the Lions' offensive line and running game should feel like they have a massive advantage here.
Yeah, because, like I say, it's a young defense you're coming up against, and when they're just getting completely battered by it, and you're constant, you don't give up. It's at that point you turn to your leaders to make, like Aaron Donald has just for so many years, he's been that guy. Even when they've had young guys around him, and every time you need a play, he's going to be there to go and make a play. But when you don't have that type of guy around, when you're defending run after run after run after run, you're beaten, you're battered, you're bruised, and there's no one in there who can make that special play to get you off, then you're going to have trouble. And the problem with the Rams offense is it's a big play offense. Like, you've got guys, you hit down the field, you move quickly, you score quickly, which is great. But if your defense is going back out there again, completely, gassed, and you're putting young guys out there again and they're struggling, you're just going to keep giving up points. So, like, the balance of it just isn't there right now for me. Of course, all these guys could start performing really well. Like, no team's done better than getting more out of his rookies than anyone else than us. I mean, if these rookies do come in and play well, if Verse gives Taylor Decker a horrible day and Fisk is the monster he can be in there, Kobe Bryant's been very good as well. I mean, they could be good, but it's just the matchup, it's just the experience, and we've got the weapons here to really go to town. And if we don't run it, we've got big play guys as well. We can beat you in the passing game, and you don't have any senior linebackers in there, not really any elite coverage guys. You've got a young secondary with savvy route runners who can get open. You've got JMO who's a deep speed threat. It's the start of a build of the defense for them. That's what it is. And if you're the Lions, if you can't score on a defense like this, then you're in a lot of trouble. You are in a lot of trouble because you are not going to come across guys who are this young and this raw, really, at any point in the season. So, it'll be tough. You feel like for a quarter, maybe a quarter and a half, like the beans in them, the youth, the invigoratingness might just see them through, but eventually you ground and pound them down. You pass it well. And, you're not taking into account here the crowd. They're in a hostile atmosphere. You're not going to be able to hear the calls. You are going to struggle with the place. There's going to be penalties on both sides of the ball. They're going to have this issue, but Green Dot, whoever it is for them, is going to have a nightmare trying to shift it all and that. So there's a lot of factors working against them in this game.
Absolutely. We've talked about the Lions' rushing offense against the rush defense of the Rams. Let's talk a little bit more about that passing offense of the Lions, and let's just bring up the Lions' offensive formation so we can see what we're talking about here. So, obviously, St. Brown and JMO and Khalif Raymond being those starters in the wide receiver positions. Maybe Raymond, maybe someone else, we don't know. And then Sam Laporta, of course. And then Gibbs, they've tried heavily to bring into the passing game. Obviously, injury has kind of set that back. But with this offensive line hopefully giving Goff time, you've got wide receivers there who can hopefully tear this DB group apart. And like you said, it's a veteran group of DBs, but I think you've got to back our guys to do this. I mean, they showed against a DB group which was probably not much worse than this, and they could tear them apart.
Oh, our passing game.
Mm.
Yeah, and you've got the guys to make it happen. When you've got guys like Laporta in the middle and you've got the speed of JMO on the outside, you can't be too aggressive against us. And that's the thing here. The teams that do best against us stack the box and stop us running the ball. And, we need to go out there and maybe early on we need to sling it around a little bit. That's how you lighten the box. That's how you make it easier for your ground game to get to work. That would be the only way I think they'd able to be really nullify us is to stop us running the ball. If they do just stack the box, bring extra guys in there, because these young guys who they bring in at DB, they can hit. They're good run defenders. So, I just think we're an expansive offense. We just need to maximize that. Mix in some passing, mix in some running, but keep them guessing. I think that's the thing. You got young guys on the back foot. They're guessing. They're not sure what's coming. Again, I think the pacing's going to be a lot to it. I think you've got to go very high up tempo in this situation and just throw them a lot of different looks, try and confuse them, try and get them unsettled. Because if you manage that, they will be there for the taking. So, yeah, I'd back Goff in our passing game against anybody. I've seen him shred the Bills back when they were at the height of their power. They had a really good secondary. We've seen him do it against the Chiefs. Got some really good DBs. I would trust him to do it in any game. I just think our offense is so varied. Not many defenses can deal with us. So, you've really got to go after them. I do want to see Ben be aggressive in this and just really keep hammering away at them because you will find a crack eventually and you'll be able to break them.
Mm. Let's turn our attention to the Lions defense and see how that matches up as well. So let's bring up the Lions defensive starters here. I've brought up the nickel package here. So 4 down linemen of Hutchinson. Remains to see how much DJ Reader plays in there, but I've got him in there for the moment. Aleem McNeil and Marcus Davenport. If Reader isn't on the field, you could see Levi Onwuzurike, Mekhi Wingo, Josh Pascal come in. You could see an elevation. It's rumoured that Carl Pico's going to come up for this game, so you could see him go in there. Maybe not if it's nickel, maybe if it's base, we'll see. And then the starting inside linebackers of Jack Campbell and Alex Anzalone, your three corners of Carlton Davis, Terry and Arnold, and Amik Robertson at the nickel, and then starting safeties of Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph. And of course, there's lots of backups there for the Lions, which are going to factor pretty heavily with Derek Barnes being the Sam and coming in when they want to have that blitzing linebacker on the field. You've got Ennis Rakestraw, this year's second round pick, who's done really well in this preseason. Kendall Vildor, who actually did really well, generally speaking, in the regular season last year when called upon. Brandon Joseph has had himself a great time to get onto this team for the first time in the 53. They were waxing lyrical about him in the offseason about how they wanted to get him here, and now he is. Khalil Dorsey too. And it's for the first time since we've maybe supported the team, and at least since we've done this, it's a damn deep defense. We don't know how high it can go in terms of quality, but unless one of the really big guys goes down like Hutchinson, the next man up mentality should be absolutely fine for this team.
Yeah, you should be able to rotate a lot of guys in and out, keep them fresh, keep them going, especially in the DB room. There's nothing worse than getting tired legs and having to go up against the likes of Cup and Nakua all the time. So we actually have bona fide depth. We can come in now and give them a good shout. So it's going to be very interesting. It's a big first test for them because it is a very good offense they're coming up against. I think this lives and dies by our edge rushers. I've already mentioned this, but remember when we played the Seahawks last year and we lost? We came up against a pair of rookie tackles and we didn't sack Geno Smith once. It was a big vulnerability on that team, and the edges just flat out stank. And there's no one opposite Hutch to be able to do anything there, and then it all fell apart because the Seahawks offense was able to operate its big playability as it wanted to, which is what the Rams are going to want to do as well. So this coaching staff is writing a really big check for Marcus Davenport. He's done nothing in the league in years now, and they're making him out like he's about to have an all-pro season. So if he's going up against a banged-up Havenstein or some backup at right tackle, I'm sorry, I want to see you do well. I want to see you dominate. I want to see you come out there and be a game changer for us because you've waltzed into this team. You've done very little to earn your spot apart from train. And I'm very skeptical about him, but him and Hutch have got golden opportunities in this game to go out and really switch it for us. And if anything, give the interior some room as well. If they're going to say, right, well, we need to protect our tackles, we need to double up. They're probably going to put extra tight ends in there. Probably going to use Colby Parkinson a lot. Then they got Hunter Long as well. They'll probably use him a lot to come in and block. But that's going to create opportunities to blitz. I know you had the tweet up earlier saying that we don't blitz very well, which maybe we don't, but we've got the personnel to do it now. I want to see Branch up there. I want to overload them because that's where the problem's going to be, and we have the personnel to do it. And more importantly, we've got the secondary to survive one-on-one now. We've not had that for years. We've not been able to match up one-on-one against good receivers. And now that we've invested in the secondary, we can invest a bit more in going after the quarterback and really getting up because someone more than Hutch has got to get sacks. Somebody else has really got to step up this year, whether it be Barnes on the outside, whether it be a Liam on the exterior. You've really got to make them creak, and you've got an opportunity here. So again, I do like how we match up. We've really gone to work on the problem we had last year. It was the receivers last year. It weren't the running game that killed us for them. It was the receivers. We've given ourselves a chance to fight against that now. We've got a golden opportunity to get after the quarterback who is not as young and mobile as he once used to be and is prone to mistakes when pressured. So that's where I'm looking at. The edges are going to be absolutely key for us.
So talking specifically then about this game as opposed to just the Lions defense in general, because I agree with absolutely what you're saying about all of these guys. Having a look at the Rams rushing attack, we're both, I think, pretty high on Kyren Williams and Blake Corum. Yet we were one of the best rushing defenses in the league last year, and we've added DJ Reader and Marcus Davenport. And Campbell and Anzalone had themselves. I mean, Campbell had himself a reasonable season as a rookie last year in one of the hardest positions to play as a rookie. Anzalone had himself a career year. What do you think that front six or front seven with Derek Barnes on the field is going to do against the Rams' rushing attack?
I think it'll blunt it. I think they're very good, but I would back, we had an elite run defense last year and we've got the guys back. And it's down to those linebackers why it's so good as well. All of them. Barnes looked a lot better against it last year. Malcolm, we know, is good against it. Anzalone, we know, is good against it. Campbell's only going to keep getting better. You know, that's what people don't understand about us as well. We've got a young defensive line. We've got a young front seven for a lot of it. Aleem's, I guess it's fourth year now, but still young. Hutch, third year, young. You still got Pascal in there. You got Houston in there. But I think we'll be able to. I think we'll be able to stop them because our linebackers are good, and we've got good DBs as well. Like Branch comes up and defends the run really well. Kirby comes up, defends the run well. Snaps a few ACLs in the process just to upset people. But see, that's the key. If you do that, then look at the arsenal of weapons we've got to go after Staff. We can bring Houston into this game. We can line Barnes up on the edge. We can do all sorts. The world is our oyster on this defense now. If you can just stop them running that ball, and with due respect to Kyron Williams and Blake Corum, we've stopped much better running backs than them over the last few years. Not just
Saquon Barkley, notably.
Yeah, we've stopped the best running backs in the NFL, period, from running on us. Doesn't matter how talented the running back is. If he's got no rushing lanes, if he's got nothing to work with, then he can only do so much. So, we match up well from that point of view. And like I said, we've got a weakness on the outside and we've got a lot of guys we can send out that way. So it's a good offense and I'm not talking it down. I just think when you look at it and how it matches up, we've got the key that unlocks it. And, it's going to be problematic for them. Again, you've got backup tackles coming in who don't play much. You've got young running backs. You've got, not the experienced types coming in. The noise will be a factor here. Like it'll get at some of these guys and it'll cause problems, especially the tackles. If they're, facing up against Hutch, you're going to be able to get penalties out of them. You're going to be able to put them back on the field. So the field, Ford Field is a massive equalizer here. You have to take it into account when talking about these matchups. It's going to be incredibly tough. McVay himself said it's the loudest he's ever been anywhere before, and it's going to be even louder this year than the playoff game because they know it affects them. It did affect them last year. So it's I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to see what this new revamped defense does, but we have the advantage here and we need to make sure we take advantage of it.
Just a brief aside, we've got a question from Stephen Collins in the chat who just says, do you see more sacks from the interior this year in general with Aleem, DJ Reader and Levi Onwuzurike?
Yeah. I mean, of course you're going to, right? If Davenport's out there causing problems, he draws double teams. Like, you're going to overwhelm them somewhere along the line. Like, they can't stand up. They can't just go one-on-one with Hutch. If Davenport's as great a guy as I say he is, he can't go one-on-one, but you can't leave Aleem and DJ. Like, they're two guys who specifically deal with double teams. You can't field 8 offensive linemen. So you will get opportunities down. You will get opportunities there. I figure, because I think, is it Riz who said he reckoned that Barnes was going to be the second leading sack guy on this team? He definitely said that. Like, those guys are going to have chance because with having DJ and Aleem there, you're going to open up some massive rushing lanes. Like, with all these double teams happening, you're going to open up avenues for these guys at the second level to come through and make plays. So I wouldn't be surprised if you saw a lot more sacks maybe from the DBs or from the linebackers as opposed to the interior, because I think you will give them opportunities to hit rush lanes and go through. We've not really had that in recent years. So
yeah. Okay, and what about the reality of what you see in this game? Because you've said a lot about what the Lions must do in terms of, really take the advantage of them having weaker tackles. Do you think they actually will, though? Because I think it's all very well and good to say this is what we need, but do you think Davenport will do it? Because I know you have your doubts.
I don't. No. because of that Seahawks game last year, like
It's
that
burned in my
really,
mind.
that
Oh,
Seahawks game really annoyed me because you've got two rookie tackles out there, and we put very little pressure on Geno Smith, and it allowed them to score lots of points on us, and that's what the Rams will want in this game. They'll want to give Staff enough time to start airing it out to his two big receivers, to start making big chunk plays. And when you do that, we have to lighten our box a bit, which means you can let Corum and Williams go to it. Like they've got to pass first and then run on us. That's what they've got to do. They've got to try and lessen the reinforcement we can give to the interior of the D line, especially with Reader not been healthy yet. Levi still to prove his health, and Broderick's hurt right now, so we're not exactly stacked on depth at D tackle at the minute. As long as the starters can stand up, fine. But outside of that, that's where you might have issues. So they need to pass on us. But I am, yeah. I need to be convinced first by any of them. If it's Pascal there, if it's Houston there, if it's Davenport there, it's I'm to be convinced by it. But I think in Glenn's case, like he can negate that he can be aggressive here. If you start blitzing, you start bringing the corners up for it, you will create opportunities even if they're not able to. I feel like we didn't do that enough against the Seahawks. We didn't try hard enough to get to Geno. And like he's an average quarterback, and look what he did to us. If Staff gets going, he can hit us hard. So, like you say, it is very well just doing these reviews and saying this on paper is where we match up. This on paper is not where we match up. It's never that simple,
no.
ever. It's always, screw it. It could all change on a dime. Their D line could be amazing. We might not be able to run the ball on them. We're expecting to run the ball. Well, then we've got to start making risky throws and start turning it over, etc. We just don't know. But my confidence on the team, my confidence on the offense is 100%. I believe that our senior, veteran, talented offense is just going to go to town on that young defense. It's going to find a way to get them. The defense, I need to wait and see. Yeah, I know the secondary is not going to be amazing right away. Are they just going to do their job right away? I'm not sure, but we will see. But you can't just definitively right now go, oh, it's going to be amazing, because it's not. There are too many questions that need answering right now, and until we see it, we can't pass judgment on it.
Oh, that's fair. But talking about looking at it on paper, one more little matchup to look at, which is the Lions' passing defense and the DBs in general against that Rams passing offense. You said Stafford could burn us when he's given time, and of course he's going to have Kupp, Nakua, and Demarcus Robinson to throw at. So with Kupp and Nakua specifically, they're going to be going up against Carlton Davis and Terry and Arnold, and then Amik Robertson presumably going up against Demarcus Robinson. How do you see that going? Because they're not blessed with huge amounts of speed. Any of those guys, even Demarcus Robinson as the speedier of the three, is not an absolute burner. And in Amik, you haven't got someone who's the fastest, neither Terrion nor Carlton Davis. So in some ways, they haven't got that guy who's maybe going to burn us over the top. But we've got technicians like they have technicians. For me, this is maybe the thing which can define whether the game is super close or whether we maybe blow them away.
The RDBs have to be technically on point. Like, I don't give a fuck about speed with receivers. I never have. It's about how a receiver can run routes. You see, you can make up for a lack of speed by the way you run your routes, your ability to gain separation, your savviness in what you are, and that's what they have. Like, these are two of the most elite technicians out there. They always have been. And for a better part as well, they're bloody strong. Like, Puka Nakua is strong. Cooper Kupp is strong. They're both smaller school guys who have been written off. They're like Lions players, really. Underestimated until they show the world that they're wrong, but they're incredibly tough. They're incredibly hard to tackle, and they are incredibly hard to guard. Our DBs are going to have to, be their opposite. It sounds stupid to say, but they've got to run their routes well. They've got to stick with them. But that's why I do trust them a bit more. I feel like Arnold's going to have a game where he could have like two or three really good pass breakups and really good plays, but then he might get burned once or twice because he's young, he's raw, and corners probably what they have the biggest learning curve of everyone, right? They're just, I mean, you see all the stuff about Sertan, who just got paid, about how good his first year was, and his second year was nowhere near as good, even though he's still one of the best corners. It's just an area where it's incredibly tough to develop. So I think it's going to be a bit of boom and bust early on, but you've got to technically be sound in this because they will get you otherwise. Look at all Cups receptions and Suez receptions. Generally, it's just their ability to get separation. They're just their ability to run routes cleanly, crisply, and just basically outfox anyone they come up against. So the DBs have got to be on point, but they can be. And like you say, because they're not the fastest guys, as long as they're technically savvy, they'll have the chance here. And it depends how much time Stafford gets to throw at them as well. If we're able to put pressure on quick, we will also put it in our favor as well. Because guys like Terrian is lightning. Like, he is very quick. He could get a yard or two behind, but if Staff's throwing it early, he's not able to get settled. And then you've got Branch sat back there waiting because they're going to play him at safety, probably. And you've got a safety net for the first time in years. We've never had a safety net properly, like a guy who you're like, okay, if this guy makes a mistake, if someone makes a mistake, he's going to come in, clean it up right away. He could feast in this. I think he might get a couple of picks in this one, Branch.
I want to turn this just to some guys maybe for the Lions that we want to shout out as either pulling for to do well or kind of need to do well to see success. And I mean, you've mentioned the guy that I was going to talk about at the top, which is Brian Branch, because one of the best nickels in the game in his rookie season. He was absolutely phenomenal last year. Moving back to the safety, which I know we both don't particularly like as a move, but it's happening, at least for what looks like the majority of his snaps, although not all of his snaps, because apparently he's going to play everywhere. But it stands to, what they've done all off season. He is going to be playing a lot of the safety position. And it's going to be really interesting to see what happens in game one, because he has not taken any reps for us in the NFL in that position. How does the defense react to him being there? Does he take all the correct safety angles? Because, it's very different when you're playing safety as compared to playing nickel corner. The angles you've got to take are vastly different. And seeing the game, when you're a nickel, you're a bit more near the line of scrimmage. You're reading things a bit more quickly. You're timing the snap. When you're coming off a nickel blitz, you can just go and quite often be completely unblocked. TFLs, he was absolutely fantastic at reacting to the wide receiver screens. And as the strong safety, he'll play some in the box, of course. But some he's going to play high and just try and watch what happens and what develops with the wide receivers, which you don't do as much of from the nickel position. Quite often you're just covering the man in front of you, whereas this is going to be a bit more read and react. And for me, it's going to be fascinating just to watch Branch play on Sunday.
He's a special kid. I don't think it's going to bother him. He's a high IQ player, and these guys generally they will take to it quickly. He's played safety at Bama before. He's played a lot in the box at Bama before. So, he's a guy who's used to moving it around. He's played the vast majority of his snaps in the slot, but the guys at Bama get him to do pretty much everything there. I don't worry about him going to safety. The fact that he's able to survey the field, his reaction times are so quick. Like, he'll see the opportunities come before the quarterback's even thrown the ball. I don't like moving him there. I do prefer him where he's in the nickel, but I do see their reasoning behind it. I just don't want them to move him around all over the place and mess with him too much. Again, we screwed so many DBs up over the years. We screwed so many players up over the years just trying to do too much with them that you've just got to be careful. But I like him at safety. I think he'll be fine. And I mean, there's too much competition at nickel now. You've got a Meek in there. Rakestraw's threatening to play, so that would be his instant position into the team. You've got too many guys who can go in there and do that, but it's fine. We'll see how it works for one, but I like it for this matchup especially. I think if you put the deep burners in there, then maybe I'd think twice about it. But I think it matches up well for him to play safety here.
What about a player for you that you perhaps want to shout out as to you want the pulling for them to do well, or we need them to do well? Who's crucial for you?
JMO. This is all about JMO. Um, Sorry, we're talking defense because we didn't do this for offense. You're just talking player in general.
Player in general.
JMO. JMO's what it's all about. Because if you start hitting him downfield, he's the guy who stretches defenses. He's the guy who lightens the box for you. He's the X factor. And, I'll swear this down. They need to find as many opportunities to put the ball in his hands as possible. I don't care whether it's in the backfield. I don't care where he lines up at, but he's going to be the big one here. If they're struggling now, JMO on Tre'Davious White, who is coming off serious injury and is in the latter stages of his career, and JMO's tough. JMO's toughness has never been in question. He tries to come up and jar him at the line of scrimmage. JMO's going to cause him problems. JMO's going to get downfield, but it's all about him really, truly unlocking what we're capable of. It sounds sacrilegious, but out of all the players on our team, if he hits his ceiling, he's the best offensive player on this team, period. Like, he is, no one else can be as good as what he's going to be. So, it's JMO for me. He's the one who needs to go. Everyone else is, everyone else has proven themselves on offense and that, but we hit the deep threat, they're going to be in a world of trouble because they're not going to be able to load up on the front. They're going to have to give help to their DBs, which means we'll just go to town on that young defensive line and batter them into submission. So JMO is where it's all at.
Yeah, it's super important for him to make a good start, I think. I do think that he's just not as thick-skinned as we want him to be, and considering what he's come through the last 2 years, he's got some spine there, don't get me wrong, but I feel like if you can get ahead of steam with him, you're going to see his confidence explode and quickly become just a completely uncoverable player. And you have a look at the routes he's running in the pre-season, he just looks like a technician. Like, he's completely changed what he's capable of doing because those feet and the way he can move are just second to none. It's like he's... Not that I'm saying he has, but it's JMO on steroids in terms of the fact that if you put that speed combined without those quick feet, I mean, the way he can cut now is unreal. So I'm really looking forward to that.
You've got to give him the ball anywhere. Like I've just said, stop throwing moon balls up to him. Like, he's good enough to be the likes of Tyreek Hill now. Get the ball anywhere and everywhere. And they're great to do things. Like, I'm going to batter this point to death. He proves himself for this team every single week. He's the first person into a scrum. He's the first person throwing blocks. He's the first guy who's out there, lead blocker for a running back or something like that. He does everything that you want a wide receiver to do in the physical part of the game. I just, you listen to the rhetoric around him and you'd think he was just lazy or something like that. He's not.
No way. Yeah, I mean, you have a look at some of the blocks he laid out for some of the touchdowns. If you look at the San Francisco touchdown, all the end arounds and everything, like, he's fantastic.
If anything, he's got to not be, like, the team has got to use him. And I will still say that the team are to blame as much as JMO is for his lack of development because they don't use him. And despite the fact that he's out there doing everything to earn touches, he does all the dirty work. So give him touches. If he was out there being lazy, like, I hate to use the example because he's here now, but Allen Robinson, screw it, yeah, he shouldn't get any touches because he's not doing anything for the team. But JMO is the first guy to be a team player. So, he needs more looks this year. He needs the ball putting in his hands more times. I get we've got a lot of guys to do it with, but he's the key. We can't just give him 1 or 2 targets a game and they both be 50-yard lobs downfield. That's just not going to work, and it's no good for us going forward. So get him on crosses, get him across the field, start pairing him on linebackers and slow DBs and stuff like that, and give him opportunity to get in space and use him.
All right, I'm going to pick a player on offense as well, and then maybe you can pick someone on defense if there is anyone you want to pick on defense. I'm going to go with Brock Wright. Now, the reason I'm going with Brock is because there's no recognised X receiver on this team right now. Now, there is rumours that we could elevate someone, We may have to elevate a safety just because Ifeatu Melifonwu and Lauren Strickland are struggling for this game. They both might play. If he might play and Lauren might not, we don't know. But if both can't go, a safety may need to get elevated, and we probably need to elevate a defensive tackle as well. So there remains a possibility that we can't elevate a wide receiver for this game. Let's see what happens. But even if either Tim Patrick or Alan Robinson or DPJ do get elevated, I think this team is actually going to focus for week 1 on possibly getting Sam Laporta more outside wide receiver reps than you would normally expect. Because I do buy what's being sold by a lot of the beat writers out there, that week 1 and the guaranteed veteran salary if a player is active week 1 is feeding into what's going on here, which is why there isn't a recognised vet wide receiver at the X position on the team in week 1. So if we do see Sam Laporta flexing out to a bit more wide receiver, Brock Wright is going to come in and play a lot more snaps than he would normally do in line. And we've seen what he can do. Now, he may look like a dump truck running with just like slow legs sometimes, but he can move a bit and he's got good hands and he's blown teams away with the unexpected catch for 50 yards here and there. He's an underrated part of this offense and they clearly respect his ability with the way that they paid him last year. So I anticipate 2 tight end sets with maybe Sam Laporta actually flexing out into the slot or even into outside wide receiver. And with Brock, I think that when you have a look at this offense and how much the Rams are up against it on defense, he's going to be the guy when he's on the field that they're not watching as closely as the others. And if they take their eyes off him, I am looking forward to seeing him burn them.
People getting way too hung up on this X receiver stuff. People get way too hung up on it. And this is coming from a guy who likes them more than anybody. Like, our offense doesn't need one. Like, if you can just find a few guys to go out there, take a few snaps, then fine. But we've got a burner, we've got technicians in the interior, and we've got a great running game. Not every team needs an X receiver. We don't. I don't classify Josh Reynolds as one, really. He did a little bit, but I think it's been blown way out of proportion. We are absolutely fine. We can run it by committee and we won't miss it.
What about your guy on defense?
I mean, in terms of who needs to make the biggest impact, I mean,
read it how you want. Just pick a player who you're interested in.
Whoever starts at edge opposite Hutch, like somebody has got to take this position now. I'm fed up of waiting for somebody to emerge out of this. And in Davenport's case, he's got a very small window to impress because unless he does incredibly well this year, I'm not even thinking about keeping him for a second year. And for Houston and Pascal, they've really got to start showing now that they're a long-term part here. Pascal has another dodgy year, then it might just never happen for him. And with Houston, they won't give him another chance after this, I don't think, which will be sad. But I've said very, very plainly, if we're not doing well in that second edge position, we will go to the trade market and we will trade for someone and we will bring them in because it is a black hole on this team, which we can no longer afford to have. We want to go win a Super Bowl. We've got to get a second edge in. So it's probably going to be Davenport as well. So let's say Davenport. He's the one who needs to have a great game. He needs to... This coaching staff have given him a lot of support and they have talked him up a lot. He needs to start repaying it very damn quickly. So he would be the guy there for me.
All right. Couple more questions here. The first one is not what I want to ask, but I'm going to. Which is that it's week 1, and week 1's always the most unpredictable game of the season. Teams go in with expectations and they see them dashed. We had this sort of matchup last year where we were the underdogs and we beat the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't think it's that unlikely that we lose this game just because it's week 1. And, you know, this Rams team is frisky and it has some good pieces and it's got a good head coach. Are you going to be concerned, worried if we do lose this game?
Yeah, absolutely I'm going to be because, you know, the Rams are you want to beat the teams who are they're a barometer of a playoff team. And the Rams, for all intents and purposes, they are the barometer of a wild card playoff team. These are going to be the guys fighting for the 5th, 6th, 7th type places. You've got them at home. They've got a very young defense. They've got no offensive tackles. You pride yourself on being a trench warfare team. You are coming up against a young, inexperienced D line, and you're coming up against an O line which doesn't have tackles. If you can't beat that caliber team at home when you've got home field advantage, I would worry because we have a rotten run of away games from Ford Field when the bye's done. We've got 3 and 4 at home. We must start 3 or 4 wins. And if you're going to lose to the Rams, there are a lot better teams than the Rams out there. I'll just say that now. A lot better balanced all-round teams. If you can't beat someone who's this imbalanced, then when you come up against the balanced teams, you're going to struggle as well. They've got to lay a marker down. You've got to, because they're coming off the disappointment of the NFC Championship game last year. This team generally, they'll have been feeling this all off season. It will be pent up in there. It will be built up. You know these guys will have wanted to play the first snap of next season the day after that game. That they'll be fed up of waiting. If I don't see a response here from them, then I'd be concerned because I always do see a response for them. Now, any given Sunday in the NFL, right? Anybody can beat anybody, but I would be really concerned if we can't beat them. I would, just because, as I say, we've got a top 2 offense in the NFL, and if it can't beat a young, inexperienced defense like this, alarm bells are ringing.
Fair. It wouldn't worry me. I mean, it's all about the manner of the play for me. If we still, play hard, play well, and, they get the final possession and win, I'm really not going to be worrying too much. If they blew us away, obviously that would be a real big concern. But I think a lot of people frame the question that way, which is why I framed it that way. But for me, the manner in which things happen is absolutely key. Because if the buy-in is there, the execution for the majority of the time happens, and it's just an isolated play here and there. I can put it down to teething. I can say we're going to warm up into the season. At the end of the day, you have a look at some teams. Philly start hot. Right? The last few seasons, they've been absolutely amazing to start seasons. They've been potentially the last unbeaten team the last 2 years. But when it came to December, Philadelphia completely fell off. They were one of the worst teams in the NFL. Whereas you have a look at someone like Kansas City, historically really bad starters. Through the first month and a half of the season, they could have a losing record. And they still think they're going to win the Super Bowl. And by God, they go and do it. So, form at this time of the year, in some ways, doesn't worry me massively. And at the same time, in an uber competitive NFC North, every single game's going to matter too. And so it's a slight bit of concern, but maybe not as much as others are kind of bigging up to be, I think, for me.
I mean, you say teething problems. Barring Zeitler, the offense is the same. Like, if you're having teething problems,
played an NFL snap in 7 months, 8 months. It's a long time.
If you're having teething problems and you've got one new offensive lineman, You've got every game counts. You're right. And these games, even if they're early, matter a lot. I mean, we've got an early bye. Like, if this one game costs us the 1 seed in January, well, that could come back to haunt us because we'll be playing an extra game. The team will be banged up. Like, it's a ripple effect. And this is also a confidence effect. We now, this season, need to prove that we're not one-hit wonders. The entire NFL is waiting for this team to fail. It's going to wait for it on Sunday night. Everyone wants the Rams to win. Everyone wants us to be down in the dungeons where we come here on a Monday, down, depressed, season done. That's where everyone wants us to be again. You've got to lay a marker. And as I say, we generally don't do as well on the road. I don't want to be going into that road stretch after the bye with 2 or 3 losses on the cards. Like, you say we come back for that. The Chiefs have won 3 Super Bowls. They have winners mentality. They've been there, done that. That elevates them a level. Not every team can do that. And unfortunately for us, in most years, we've been playing catch up from behind and we've not been able to deal with it. So I think it matters a lot. And again, it's the level of team. You can't beat the Rams. You're not going to beat the Seahawks. Hell, you're going to beat the Bucks again. You've got to beat the Cards. Suddenly, winning is a habit. Losing is a habit, which is why, we saw in our first year we couldn't win. But when the team learned how to win, they became better. You've got to win, you've got to win, you've got to win. You've got to keep winning. Losses derail seasons. So you've got to start here. as you mean to go on. We need to absolutely crush them and show that we're legit and for real.
Agreed. Okay, so finally, then, before we look at the rest of the weekend's games, score prediction, please.
36-21 to us. 15-point margin of victory. I want this to be decisive, and I think it should be.
I'm going to go 28-21 Lions, coming in just under the over-under. I think we potentially go into a final possession with the scores level and score a touchdown to put the game out of sight for the Rams, personally. But both with a dub on the board, fingers crossed. Let's have a look at the rest of the weekend's games. And it starts tonight with Baltimore at the champions Kansas City. It's a fascinating week one game, not unlike ours against them last year. As I just said, Kansas seemed to start slow, and Baltimore potentially are a bit of the opposite. What do you make of the matchup?
The Ravens need, like we say, this might be our year. This feels like the year for the Ravens where they've got to put up or shut up. Like they've been a really good team now for the last few years, but when it matters, they feel like the Bills a few years ago when the Bills were really good, but when it mattered, they choked. And with the Ravens, it feels like they've been choking on too many occasions. Like what was it, Ravens and Bills? The Chiefs went to last year and beat them. It really feels like this is the year they've got to prove the doubters wrong before it might be a bit too late for them. So, a loss here doesn't do anything for the season. But like us, I think they've got to set down a marker that, they are for real this year. And what did that win do for us last year? The Chiefs win. I mean, how different could the season have been maybe if we'd not won that game? We'll never know, but I do feel like that was the shot in the arm they needed to really believe in themselves to go and do what they did. And it feels like that for the Ravens this year. They need an early shot in the arm to go and, show that they are legitimate Super Bowl contenders and they can go and win the whole thing. I mean, Lamar can keep winning MVPs, but it doesn't really mean nothing if they don't win a Super Bowl. So I would fancy the Ravens to win this. I think they've got a damn strong team, like a damn strong team. And you've added Derrick Henry in there as well. You've got a good young receiver core. You've got some big bona fide playmakers in there. The defense is just stacked, completely stacked. I would go as far to say as they could win by a couple of scores in this. I think they're really going to put down a statement tonight and be like, this is our turn now.
Yeah, I'm on the same page. I like the Ravens in this game. The Chiefs have lost a bit. Obviously, the star cornerback, whose name escapes me, was traded away to the Titans.
Steed.
Thank you very much. And that means that Joshua Williams is now a starter of the team. I like Joshua Williams. I think he's a really good player. But I don't think he's L'Jarius Sneed just yet. And, Justin Reed's fine. Brian Cook's okay, but I just don't think that secondary is as good as it could be for the Chiefs. I think that the Ravens' offense really could eat. And their offense, yeah, they've invested in those wide receivers. They've brought in Marquise Brown, who of course is out. They've got Xavier Worthy as a high draft pick, as my internet connection apparently goes unstable. Apologies for that if it has gone bad.
Was that you? Was that you? I thought it was me.
No, it was me. Yeah, so they've obviously got Pacheco in there, Rashee Rice, who shouldn't be anywhere near an NFL field right now. Fine, whatever. Where's their big issue? It's their tackles. Juwan Taylor is on a one-way route out of Kansas City. He's not performed up to his contract. Unless he has a good season this year, they've gotten out at the end of this season. They will want to get rid of the overpriced deal that they signed him to. And on the other side, they've got a rookie left tackle in Kingsley Suamataia who isn't ready. And I cannot stress this enough. He's not ready to start in the NFL. So, what's Baltimore going to do? Who's he against? Oh, hey, it's Odafe Owe and David Ajabo. Good luck with that. And maybe he'll find himself up against the newly named Namadi Madueke, who got his massive deal in the offseason because he lit the league alight. This Ravens defensive line should eat. I know the Chiefs' offensive line has improved in recent years, but it's just the interior that's good. Those tackles ain't worth shit.
The thing is, they've got the best coaching in the NFL. Every time you think you've got them backed into a corner, they find a way to get out. I mean, they worked with bad tackles before. That's why they have speedsters in the receiver department. Get the ball out quick, get separation quick. I don't know. Is Adonai Mitchell playing tonight? I'd fancy Adonai Mitchell to have a good game if they're going to put him straight in there. Is it Adonai Mitchell who went there?
No,
No, it's
Mitchell
not.
went to
It's
Colts. You're talking what for
they did take a receiver in the first.
Xavier Worthy.
Xavier Worthy, sorry. Yeah, Xavier Worthy. I reckon he might eat in this one. But I mean, I don't think as much of that Ravens edge. Ajabu's been disappointing so far. But I guess he was injured coming into the league. But
Yeah.
you can never write off the Chiefs ever because of what they do. But it just feels like that maybe now is the time where, these other AFC teams we keep getting told about how great the AFC is, but it's ruled by one team. So somebody's got to step up to them and send them a message. So yeah, I feel like this is the time.
Moving on from that game, we've got our first Friday night game to start, and the first game for the NFL in Brazil with the Green Bay Packers at the Philadelphia Eagles. And another interesting matchup. Two teams playing in green in a place where they don't want you to play in green for fear of violence. Apparently, the players have been saying on arrival that they're being told not to go outside, which is not a great look. I don't know how much of this is true, but they're tweeting it on social media, so there's got to be a shred of truth to it. The Packers come into this, and I mean, they're being picked for the Super Bowl just as much as we are. And yet the Philadelphia Eagles also have the same hype behind them that they did 2 years ago because everyone's forgotten how they finished last season. And yet, when you have a look at how they've invested by trading for Jahan Dotson, for paying all the money to Saquon Barkley to really stick it to their in-division opponents, and giving Bryce Huff all the money, and they've really kind of revamped this team. They've brought back CJ Gardner-Johnson, Quinion Mitchell's now on this team, so is Cooper DeJean. They are two teams who should have high expectations.
Yeah. And from a completely selfish point of view, I want the Eagles to win because I'm fed up of the Packers' love. My conspiracy theory here, this whole stuff about them not being able to leave the hotel rooms and go out and stuff like that. My conspiracy theory is that this is a concerted effort from the players' wives to not let their husbands go out and see the beaches full of beautiful Brazilian women and be tempted to stray away from the Christian family values and everything like that. Because you don't want to
party.
You don't want to let these guys, the hot-blooded athletes. You do not want them to go out there and see all the splendidly wonderful Brazilians out there. So that's my conspiracy theory. Is this has been something that's been wrought up by significant others to stop them. Like, don't leave your hotel room, you'll be killed, or you could drown in a sea of lovely Brazilian women. That's the danger out there. So
it feels like you have a longing to go and watch the game.
I've always wanted to go to South America. I want to do a big ass tour around there, but Brazil does look good in some parts. Anyhow, back to the game.
You should watch Race Across the World, by the way, the celebrity edition.
I should.
They went there. It's 4 episodes in Brazil, and it looks absolutely stunning.
It does. Would love to do it. I don't know. This, you talk about teams whose windows closing. Do you feel like this is the last year for the Eagles? Like, Sirianni's going to get fired if they don't. I think he's going to get fired even if they make the playoffs, but they lose early.
Yep, agree.
It feels like, obviously Kelsey's gone. They'll probably move not Linda Baum. They'll move Dickinson across. Maybe.
Yeah. Cam Jurgens has been groomed for that centre role, though.
Cam Jurgens has played guard as well, though. I don't know. They'll have some part in there, but they've invested a lot of money in that team. And it feels like this is their windows beginning to shut. And it feels like the window's beginning to shut on the head coach as well. So but then the Packers, LaFleur, I don't know. I think it'll be a really good game. Fun to have Friday night football as well, like just football every night this week. I think it's tough, but I feel like the Eagles need it more.
Yeah, I
Can they do
agree.
it? I'm being a complete NFC North homer here. I want the Packers to lose, so say Eagles win.
Yeah, I agree with you. Right, here's the rest of the slate. Just, pick out a game here or there that you really like or that you're going to watch. The 1 p.m. slate is Steelers at Falcons, Cardinals at Bills, Titans at Bears, Patriots at Bengals, Texans at Colts, Jags at Dolphins, Panthers at Saints, Vikings at Giants, and then the late window is Raiders at Chargers, Broncos at Seahawks, and Cowboys at Browns and Commanders at Bucks. Sunday night football we talked about already. Monday night football, Jets at 49ers. What takes your fancy in the other slate of weekend games?
I think this is a really good opening week in
Mm.
general. I mean, you've got there's lots of intriguing fixtures here. I mean, Grandaz is in the chat. Dolphins and Jaguars feel like that's a game that the Jaguars can win. Um, yeah, I'm much higher on this Jaguars team than you are. Um,
Yeah, I think the Jags are going
I
to have the
just
number
think
one pick, so
Miami,
you were a bit
Miami,
higher on them than me.
Miami are flirting with fraud territory right now. Like McDaniel's he's on a hot seat this year.
Yeah,
Like for us, I know they've just given him a new deal, haven't they? Really weird, really
it
really
happens
weird. He's not
often though.
actually.
It happens
Yeah,
often.
I still think he's on a hot seat, even though they've given him this new deal. But I fancy the Jags to win. I think it'll be a good game. It's Clash of Styles. That one is obviously 49ers and Jets. I don't I don't know who I want to lose that more. I know are we already doing one seed, so I guess we want the 49ers to lose, but I hate Aaron Rodgers and I want the Jets hype train to die a quick death.
Hmm.
Like they're on prime time so much this year. I mean, like was it last year? Who was on prime time who was god awful last year who was on all the time? Was it the oh Lord. Who was on all the time last year who were terrible? We managed to get them chucked off the air because they were so bad all the
Was
time.
it not the Jets?
Oh, it might have been the
Have they?
Jets.
They're just repeating it, I
I
think.
think they had that many games. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like our arch nemesis for so many years against our NFC
Yeah.
nemesis as well. But I don't know. I'm just not as high on them as others are.
Yeah, no,
It's
I get. Well, there's going to be issues with that team. Never mind the fact that all the reports coming out is that Aaron Rodgers is a cancer in the locker room, which
Hmm.
I'm not sure you can point to his time in Green Bay and say that that was true. If anything, he elevated everyone around him. He was just a dick while doing it to everyone else. But it's not a good look to go on holiday when everyone else is at training camp. I'll just say that. Like, come on, mate. Realize what's going on and where you are. You can't just do what you want when you're getting paid as much as you are. It's not how things work. I will still pull for the Jets because as much as I hate Aaron Rodgers, I care about the Lions more than I hate anything else. So
If they could win like 6-3, that'd be awesome. Like he throws four interceptions, but Purdy throws five.
there's a
Like
winner in the
I,
game, but they're both losers, really.
yeah, yeah. I could take that. I could take like a really low scoring game there. I mean, I guess we're looking at our NFC North rivals as well. I mean,
Yeah,
somebody's got the
yeah.
Titans winning the AFC South, and they're gonna Soldier Field.
I don't
So
have the Titans winning the South.
oh, you've got them.
I
You said they've got best. You've bet on them, haven't
I
you?
have bet on them, but it's because it's plus 1,000. It's literally 9-1. So I'm like,
Yeah.
well, they are. I think they are one of the bigger underdogs in the entire league. So I'm just like, well, I think that's a value. But if you ask me who's going to win that division, I really, really, really think it's going to be the Houston Texans. And that parlays quite well into what I think is maybe the most consequential game of the weekend, apart from the ones we've already spoken about, which is Texans at Colts. Because I really like what the Colts have done this offseason, but can Anthony Richardson stay healthy? And of course, the Texans are riding ahead of steam with CJ Stroud and everything they've done in their roster building in the last 18 months. I mean,
You've got some pro Colts people in the chat, so be careful what you say.
no. I really love what the Colts have done. It's just, was anyone higher in the draft process than me on Anthony Richardson?
No, you were pretty much on your own.
Yeah, he was my QB1. So I'm a big believer, but, can they do it? The other game that really sticks out to me is probably excuse me, Cowboys at Browns. Just because the Cowboys are one of the best regular season teams in the league, and yet the Browns are one of the best rosters in the NFL without a quarterback. And wouldn't you believe me, Ant, if I said the Browns were heavy favourites? Heavy
No, I
favourites.
saw this. They're
Really
favourite by
heavy
5 or 6, aren't
Yeah, I
they?
know. It's nuts. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
I've got Dak in fantasy, so I kind of want Dak to have a good day. I just feel like Deshaun's going to. I feel like they would be better served, like just throwing DTR in and just putting him out there and doing it with him, like at this point. But you know, um, hang on, just bear with me a minute. There was another game I wanted to look at as well. I think it's just a really good first week. Bucks, Browns, Seahawks. Hmm. I don't know. I guess I'll be looking at teams we're going to play in the near future as well. Was it Bucks next? Bucks play the Commanders. Commanders will be interesting. Like their new era with Jaden Daniels, because they do see. I don't know off by heart, but they do seem to have made a lot of sensible roster decisions this offseason compared to normal. Even though they're still firing staff for saying inappropriate things in meetings. Some things never change, but like if they could get a win over the Bucks, I mean that'd knock something out of the Bucks' sales coming to Ford Field next week.
And it
You
wouldn't
do
surprise
not.
me. Like, all of the talk coming out of Washington training camp is that Jaden Daniels has looked absolutely legit. And the thing about reporting and training camp and whatever is there's a kind of trope that everyone says training camp has looked good. But the reality is, most of the time, is that one legit reporter who dares to report that things are looking bad is the shred of truth most of the time. And most of the time, there are those people in camps laying a little bit of doubt in there while all of the, hacks are out there saying that everything looks great. There normally is some people telling the truth. And everyone says Jaden Daniels looks really good. So I'm kind of a believer in the fact that Washington maybe not can be really good this season, but I think they can be frisky enough to take down some kind of average to good teams. And nothing is more average to good in the NFL than that Bucks team.
Yeah, very true.
I
Interesting. Shall we do a as part of our thing? Whoever's on, shall we do a cover the spread thing? Let's do it. Let's see because we're on air as to what we're off. So I've got the lines up here.
Okay, go for it.
So KC favored by 3, cover or not.
I'm taking the Ravens.
So not covering for you.
Yeah,
Eagles Packers. Eagles -2.
I'll take the Eagles.
Who got the Eagles?
Got
So
the
I've got the
Eagles.
I've got the Ravens and the Eagles as well. Bengals -8.5 against the Patriots.
What have I put? Um, I have actually made all of my picks, and I actually want to find the group as well. So which one is this? Patriots? Did you say?
Yeah. Bengals 8.5 point favorites. Do they cover?
Yes. Yeah, they cover.
Yeah, I'd say there's well. Bills 6.5 point favorites over the Cardinals. I say they don't cover.
Yeah, I have the Cardinals.
What, you have the Cardinals winning?
No, I have the Cardinals
Oh, you've got the
covering
Cardinals on the.
covering 6.5.
That's fine. Yeah, I'm saying Dolphins 3.5 against the Jags. I've got them not covering that.
I have them easily covering.
Texans are -3 on the road against the Colts. 3 point road favorites.
Sorry, I'm just posting the pick watch that we're doing. So
Yeah.
it's a free pick watch. You can do all these picks with us. The link is in the chat. Please come and join and make your picks before the game tonight, and you can do with that all the way through the season. Which game again?
Sorry, we were on Road Dogs. Texans 3 point favorites on the road over the Colts.
Take the
Do they
Texans.
cover? Oh, got them covered. Okay. Vikings 1.5 point favorites on the road against the Giants.
Give me the Giants.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, I'm with you. I'll go Giants there as well. Bears 3.5 point home favorites against the Titans.
You know where I'm going with this.
I Yeah, you've got Titans.
I got the
Man's got
Titans. I
Titans.
got the Titans covering.
Oh,
I'm
I
not
want
going to
to.
say the Titans will win. I'll say the Titans cover 3.5.
Yeah, I really want the Titans to win, but I don't think they will. I'm going to take the Bears there. Falcons 3.5 point favorites against the Steelers, who look like they're going to be starting Justin Fields if Russ is injured.
Give me the
Hence,
Falcons.
I love that. I have an emotion. I don't know. I have a weird emotional connection to that
You
Steelers team.
really do. You
I
love the
think cause
Steelers.
yeah, but they draft so many players that I like. I'd go take Steelers on that. Screw the Falcons. Screw Kirk. Saints 4 point favorites against the Panthers
Only 4 point favourites against the Panthers.
at home. Yeah,
Wow.
only four. That's an indictment on that. That Saints team is not good, man. It is not a good team.
I'm taking the Saints, though. It's only 4 points.
I think the Panthers will cover just about. I think it'll be a lot closer than people give them credit for.
Okay.
Seahawks 6 point favorites against the Broncos at home. See, that's tricky.
I think
I think
that's a good line. I'm going to take the Broncos. I believe in Bo Nix.
Yeah, I was going to do that as well. We're agreeing a lot on this one. Chargers 3 points, home favorite against the Raiders.
Give me the
I'm going to
Chargers,
take the
but I
Chargers.
hate it.
I'm going to take the
hate it.
Chargers. This is
What
not Antonio Pierce's year. Year 3 will be Antonio Pierce's year, not this year.
If he survives that long, Raiders head coaches seem not to last.
No. Browns are 2.5 point favorites against the Cowboys.
I mean, I'm going to take the Cowboys straight up. So
You're going Cowboys.
yeah, they won't need the 2.5 points. I wouldn't have been surprised if this was reversed and it was Cowboys 2.5 point favorites. Really?
Yeah, I'm going Cowboys there as well. Bucks 3.5 point favorites on the Commanders.
I want to like the Commanders, given that I just waxed lyrical about the quarterback for them, but I'm going to take what I know, and I do like Baker Mayfield. Give me the Bucks.
I think the Commanders may do something. I take the Commanders there. And then Lions 4.5 point favorites against the Rams.
Well, I said they're going to win by 7, so give me the Lions.
Yeah, me as well. They don't have the Jets one up. Let me just quickly check.
It's 4.5 points according to Pickwatch in favor of San Francisco.
Ooh. Yeah, it's still 4.5. Gonna take a flutter on the Jets or not?
No, I'm taking San Francisco.
I'll take San Francisco on that as well. Yeah.
All right.
Intriguing. Who's got the lowest over under?
Oh, I don't have that.
Chargers are at 40. Ooh, hello. The Chargers game has a lower over-under than the Bengals-Patriots.
Bengals, Patriots, and Vikings, Giants are 41 for me. Yeah, Raiders, Chargers 40.5 on Bet365.
Yeah, 40. I think that's going to be a low scorer.
So the Lions game
52.
has the highest over-under of any of the games this weekend.
Do you think we hit that?
No, I think it's under.
52, that's interesting, isn't it?
It's a lot. It's a lot for week.
If we're going to be a blowout, but even a blowout win like 35, well, 30 to 15, that doesn't get you there, so.
All right. I don't think we have any questions that we haven't really addressed already. So is there anything else you want to talk about before we head off here?
I don't think so. Nothing's come through on the. I don't think there's anything else happening around the league right now.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think we're about. I'm just looking forward to having football back again.
Cannot wait, man. It's going to be great. Tonight's going to be fantastic. Sunday's going to be even better. Right.
Oh, I'll say, well, last question. What's your food of choice for the game this week?
Well,
what are you making?
So it's a 1:20 a.m. kickoff for us. And I'm going to have a nap before the 1 p.m., 6 p.m. games for us so that I can make it all the way through. So dinner's going to be a bit delayed. Do I have anything? I might get some wings in. I just love chicken wings. They're my thing. So I got some Frank's hot sauce in the fridge, so I'd have some Frank's red hot wings. I think that'd be good. What about you?
No, I don't know. Usually for first week I have pizza or something. I have something that will keep me going all night. I just sit and nibble at it, but I want to get some proper Detroit style stuff in like you do. Like it would be really good. But I just have nowhere around me that does it.
Well,
Like
to
no.
make the pizza. The pizza is
Good.
so easy to make. Honestly, the recipes for pizza dough are bloody easy, man. It's just flour and water and yeast. Like it couldn't be easier.
Ken goes, you kids are young, so you can get away with dirty eating. We're not young.
I mean, Ken, you say we'll catch up with you. Believe me, it's lucky that you can only see the top half of me because I am a heavy bastard. So
We're both, yeah, yeah.
yeah, we're both not
I'm
dissimilar in weight.
no, no. I'm 6'4", so I carry it a bit, but yeah, it's still
Frank
not. It's
speaking
still
my
not
language,
amazing.
he said you could put that shit on anything. Yeah, buddy, with the Frank's hot sauce, let's go. Frank the Tank
I mean,
talking about Frank's hot sauce. Let's have
yeah,
it.
exactly. It's all good fun. So yeah,
Love it. All right, let's sign off the show. So our next episode is going to be the live reaction play-by-play for the game. So the game kicks off at 1:20 a.m. UK time. We're going to go live about 1 o'clock, which is 8 p.m. Eastern time in the US. So myself and Ash will be on there. Ant may make an appearance, not sure. Ant does the live tweet stream, so if you are a Twitter X fan and you enjoy seeing someone have a meltdown slash hilarious tirade against people, that's always fun to watch as well. But myself and Ash on the call doing alternative play-by-play, we'd love to see you there. It's scheduled on YouTube already, so if you want to hit the notification bell for that, that'd be fantastic. Otherwise, College Podcast earlier in the week had a review of week 1 and looked ahead to week 2. And then, of course, next week, it'll be the week 2 reviews. So, I hope you enjoy the college football coming up on Saturday. Well, all the way through the weeks, to be honest. And the NFL kicking off tonight. You guys have been absolutely fantastic. You know where to find us on socials. I'm not going to bore you with that. And this has been an awesome show, man. Appreciate you for doing this with me. And to everyone on the chat, great stuff. We'll see you later on in the week. We're finally here. Week 1 of the NFL. And 1-0's coming. Let's go, Lions. One pride.
one pride.
Recording stopped.